My name's Mary Jo Leddy, and I'm one of the founders, one of them, of Romero House. And this is now the 40th anniversary of the martyrdom of Oscar Romero. And as I thought about that, I jotted down a few reflections, which I have with me. I'm going to read them just because they came out of my spirit and soul. I hope you find them helpful and useful. I hope they honor his memory. So on the 40th anniversary of the martyrdom of Oscar Romero, we have often recalled the seemingly insignificant moment when a small group of middle-class Canadians gathered to sign the papers to incorporate a new community serving refugees. The papers listed the organization as the Toronto Refugee Nonprofit Homes and Services. So this legal title seems so dull and functional. But what name would we choose, we asked. We talked on, and then a name dropped as if it were from heaven. Oscar Romero. We will be called Romero House. A great peace descended on the little group, and we knew this was the name we would carry, and it would carry us. It is now 40 years since Archbishop Oscar Romero was murdered in the little chapel in El Salvador, and it is 30 years since we have been marked by his name. Year after year, we have grown in understanding of what it means to bear his name. We have grown as we have shared life with our residents and with our young volunteers. We have learned about the way of Romero as we have learned from good neighbors. It has been exciting at times, wonderful and worrying at other times. Still, I think we barely understand what it means to say we are Romero. It certainly means that we, like him, are very ordinary people with our particular strengths and weaknesses. Like him, we have our own rigidities, our own notions of what is right, what is wrong. And like him, we can be unfree and often failing. Like him, we can be anxious, very anxious, fragile, and insecure. Yet he was saved by his friends, saved by the people who trusted him and called to him in their suffering, finally understood that he was saved from himself by suffering with and through these people. He learned what the truth of the gospel was. He learned how to love. He learned how to suffer. He learned how to forgive. As time goes by, we learn more stories about the daily simplicity of his way of the gospel. The story is told, for example, of the morning he had a real fight with the superior of the little convent where he had had breakfast. We don't really know what the fight was about, but we do know that later that night there was a knock at the door. It was Romero. He had come to apologize. He simply couldn't let the day end without apologizing for what he had done and not done, for who he was and who he was not. As we begin to celebrate our 30 years of bearing his name, we must begin not by celebrating what has been done, but by asking for forgiveness for the ways in which we have not honored his name. In doing so, we will be blessed with mercy. This is the beginning of any celebration of goodness and hope. How many times have we at Romero House done or said things that were hurtful? How many times have we been silly and stubborn? How many times we have missed the call of our neighbor? We've been stuck and stupid for lack of forgiveness. Yet as we look back on these 30 years, this day of our lives, let us, like Romero, go back and ask for forgiveness. It is really the last 3 years of Romero's life that we remember. However, there were many years before that in which he carried on the ordinary life of service and administration, of organizing, very much in the way that Jesus had 3 years of public life. But there were many years before that, almost 30, where he went about the ordinary business of living. This was an important time of living and learning, of friendship and family, of sifting and sorting. We who have carried the name of Romero have shared 30 years of the joy of living a way of welcoming and neighborliness. We have had the privilege of working with an immense sense of purpose. We have the rare gift of knowing our life together has meaning and direction. We have been able to laugh at ourselves and the world. After many years of ordinary living, Romero was ready to be summoned. So we too, after 30 years, must ask, who is summoning us now? What are we being summoned to do? This virus has forced us to be quiet, to slow down, to believe that everything that has gone before has been a preparation. Romero remains for us the model of a person who could be summoned, who could be turned inside out, who could believe that he would be called beyond who he had been. After 30 years, as a community, we are only beginning to understand what it means to love, to suffer with and for one another. This takes time. We have more time now to pray, to reflect. The virus is forcing us, perhaps even inviting us, to ponder the life and death of Oscar Romero. How mysteriously Romero reaches us over the years and whispers the way forward. Do not be afraid of death, he says. More importantly, do not be afraid of life. Thank you.